The Ambassador Award honors an individual who has helped the game industry advance to a better place. Anita Sarkeesian's work has done just that.
Naughty Dog just can't catch a break, man. If you guys don't know what Naughty Dog is, they are a video game development company. You know, they weren't like, say, one of the most notorious ones, but they have had some bangers in the past, back in the day, and then say the most recent ones being The Last of Us and things like Uncharted, stuff like that. And they make some pretty good stuff. But people were kind of afraid of the direction that they were going in because of one particular gentleman that is involved. Neil Druckmann is the vice president of Naughty Dog, and he's what you would call a progressive ideologue. He was working with Anita Sarkeesian a while back, and it's one of those things that's bad for business. It's bad for business for a ton of different reasons, because people like Anita Sarkeesian, she's a grifter. She's lied about being into video games her whole life, when there's footage of her saying that she only barely started playing video games late in her life, you know, when I think it was for a specific project or something, even saying something along the lines of, I would love to play video games, but they're gross, like ripping people's heads off and stuff like that. It's like, not for me. I'm paraphrasing, but it was essentially something like that. Yet she does like a TEDx and says, I've been playing video games my entire life and all. You know, she just puts on this show and this grift. And a lot of people believe her because they want to do the whole believe women angle, which is kind of unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate that people don't call that shit out. Where there's people that are obviously lying, and then because of what is between their legs, they must protect them. It's what happened. It's what started all of this BS, like Gamergate. It was all that. There was clearly wrongdoing by Zoe Quinn, but they protected her. They all banded together and then started conspiracies, and all of that shit happened. We all know what happened. Things when even Zoe Quinn came back and accused her ex-boyfriend Alec Holoka, indie dev, of sexual assault when she was lying. There was evidence on her Twitter herself, and other people came out, and she lied, and the dude ended up killing himself. And instead of blacklisting her for being a terrible person, they protected her, and she got a job with, I can't remember if it was Marvel or DC as well. So that's the kind of shit that we're dealing with when it comes to the not progressives in general, because I know a lot of good fucking progressives. I live in California. It's the ideologues, man. When people become zealots, they are so unreasonable. And there's zealots on any side of the spectrum, but right now we're specifically talking about the progressives and Silicon Valley. So that was already kind of a red flag for people with Naughty Dog, that Neil Druckmann was getting involved with Anita Sarkeesian. Like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And so a lot of people were also getting annoyed by when they started showing things of The Last of Us Part 2. I was not one of those people, because some people were like, oh, the lesbians of us, why is Ellie and it's all surrounded by her and this girl, you know, and they're gonna completely write Joel out of the story, because Joel was really the main character and the best character in The Last of Us. The Last of Us was definitely a fun game, definitely a good story, good writing. The gameplay was pretty good. I think a little overhyped. I think people were way too in on it. I don't know. It wasn't groundbreaking or anything. It's like, oh, survival horror kind of thing with these weird zombie type of things. A little stealthy. Yeah, okay. It was really the story was the driving point. Good story. And Joel was a really good character. Ellie, she's all right. She's all right, man. I usually just, when it comes to gameplay, when I'm somebody who really kicks ass, I don't like switching to other characters that are not as good. That shit annoys me. And that's what happened when you had to be Ellie for some missions where I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, the one thing that always comes to my mind is a game for PS2 called Shadow of Rome. And you play as this dude named Agrippa. It's basically the story of Gladiator, the movie, the Ridley Scott film. You play as Agrippa, which is so fun, but then you have to be this, like, I think his name is like Octavianus or something, this little blonde bitch, this stupid kid, like this little dumbass boy. And you just have to do this Metal Gear Solid stuff, but you don't have all the cool shit that Snake has, you know what I mean? So it's just like, oh god, I was cutting people in half in the arena, and now I have to be this guy. And that's kind of how I kind of felt about Ellie. And it has nothing to do with gender or anything like that, because I think one of the most underrated series in the recent years is the latest Tomb Raiders. The Tomb Raider trilogy is fucking good. It's really fun. And I would be just as mad if I had to not be Laura and be somebody else that's like I really have to fucking do this, you know? And so it's like that. It's just like that. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing this stuff up is because Naughty Dog, like I said, they can't catch a break. Not only were they had to deal with the delay of The Last of Us Part 2, there was rumblings of people being very disgruntled within the company. And what it usually comes down to, and this is not exclusive to Naughty Dog. This is a lot of video game companies. It's called crunch time. When they're getting very close to launch, they do crunch time, and they are pushed to the brink of insanity. They get to the point where there's good stuff you can read about a lot of companies, especially with BioWare, a lot of different companies. You can see how unfairly people are treated and people aren't getting paid enough, whatever it is. It's a lot of different things. And so with crunch time happening, you got disgruntled employees, and one disgruntled employee, and this is what allegedly has happened. This employee leaked the plot of The Last of Us Part 2, which was a huge, that usually doesn't happen. I think that's what happened with Mass Effect 3. There were spoilers on Reddit, and because of that, but it was early enough to where they could change the ending. I think that's what they did. And this time around, the game's already done, and they're like, oh shit. And so now they had to push it up, so the game's coming out in a couple of months. But here's why people are mad, and this is why people are kind of freaking out, because there's a lot of people, I guess, that were invested in The Last of Us, and they're seeing the plot, and they're like, oh my god, is this really what's happening? I can't believe this is what's gonna happen. This is gonna ruin it. I'm not gonna play this game anymore. And people have their different reasons, but I can say, looking at the spoilers, if they are true, I would agree. And so now, I want to talk about these spoilers. So I would say skip ahead 5 minutes if you are heavily invested in the Last of Us franchise and you don't want to know what apparently is going to happen. Because I'm not going to talk about it extensively, but I am going to talk about it for a few minutes. So let's just say, you know what, let's just say skip ahead just a few minutes, and I'll timestamp when you should be done. So from what it looks like, Joel, the main character from the first one, is going to be killed. He's going to be beaten to death by one of the main antagonists / protagonists. Is getting revenge because Joel killed her dad. He was one of the doctors that was gonna do experiments. Ellie, the other main character in The Last of Us, had the antibodies for the viral infection or whatever, and they were going to dissect her or kill her or whatever, essentially for the good of everybody. And Joel selflessly was like, fuck that shit, takes her, and he kills the doctors. And I guess that one of the girls is that was her dad, and she wants revenge. She finds out it's Joel, beats him to death. That's what they're saying happens. And so that's already extremely disappointing, but that's not that disappointing. The disappointing thing is that essentially Ellie then wants revenge, and what happens is there's some other beef that happens. I'm not going to get too far and deep into it, but you actually start playing as the girl that beats Joel to death, and now you're hunting down Ellie. So they're saying the first half you're playing as Ellie or whatever. You get to this one part, and then you meet up with Joel, and then Joel gets beat to death, and then it switches over to where you become the girl that beat Joel to death, and now you're hunting down Ellie. And they also say that you end up killing Ellie. I don't know. It's all speculation and stuff, but a lot of people are saying things are definitely confirmed. All I know is if that's true, if I have to be the person that beat Joel to death, it's no. No, not in any way, shape, or form would I ever want to do that. That's crazy. Now that is insane to me. That is so insane. I can't imagine. There's a lot of characters that die in video games, and they mean a lot to you. Like, damn, I can't believe that happened. That was crazy. And then imagine controlling and being the person now that killed that person that you loved. You would be so bitter. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore. So if that's the case, that is so disappointing. But some other people are mad for some other reasons too, because like I brought up the whole lesbians of us thing, the whole angle with Ellie and her partner, and then this other person that is supposed to kill Joel, that's gonna kill Joel. She looks kind of egregious, and a lot of people have been getting angry at why they keep making women in video games unattractive. Now, it doesn't necessarily bother me, because who cares? Like, if they're cool, they're cool. But it bothers me when it's purposefully done. And so that's kind of the thing that you can tell that it's a strategic thing. It's more with their mixed in with their ideals, and that's when it's like eyes starting to roll. Your idea wasn't to make this character from the get-go, but now it's like you are heavily into your ideals, and you're like, I want to make someone so unconventional and so like not attractive, even though, you know, women's beauty is celebrated by like everybody. Women appreciate women's beauty, whether they're straight or gay. Same thing with men. Everyone appreciates a woman, right? And so it's usually good for business to make attractive women in your games. Why not? Makes sense to me. I think everybody fucking wins. You know, the only people that don't like that stuff they're not the ones consuming that shit. And the thing is, they're not going to consume it once you change it. They were never interested in the beginning. So that's why people get upset. So I understand that. Like, sometimes people overstep though. Sometimes people do have original ideas, and then they just, like, somebody's like, oh, I can't believe you did that. It's just SJW nonsense. And I'm like, well, it's SJW nonsense from the get-go, and you're not going to consume it. Why are you complaining about it? And that's how I am. It's kind of like, remember when Batwoman started to show CW's Batwoman. They started to show stuff like that, and people were like, oh my god, I can't believe this is so cringe. And I'm like, have you ever watched a CW show before? It's all cringe. What are you complaining about? It's been cringe from the beginning. You don't watch that shit. It's not for you. Like, why are you mad? Like, so that, like, those people overstep, right? The people that are mad at stuff that they were never going to consume in the first place. And that's how I feel about the people that are in the video game industry now. A lot of them started to interject their ideals or started listening to people that were complaining about stuff. And I say they should always flip the question on these people. Were you going to play this? Is it one of those things where, like, well, I was going to play it until so-and-so, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense either, because if it was a certain way from the get-go, that means you were never interested from the get-go. So why don't you move on to something else that would interest you? Like, imagine myself. I personally have no interest in Fortnite or Animal Crossing or something like that. And imagine me coming out and bitching to developers that you need to make this shit more inclusive because I want to play it. I want it to be good for me. No, they would spit in my face, essentially, which they should. And be like, nah, that's, we got a dedicated fan base that really like this stuff. They like the direction it's going. I think we're fine. Like, that's it. That's how things should be handled. And it looks like that. I mean, we've seen a lot of examples of people just sliding their ideals into things, kind of like Battlefield 5. Like, I don't care if there's women in Battlefield 5. I don't think anyone really cares about that shit. It was the way that it was gone about, where it's like, I want to be on the right side of history, so I want to blah, 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 this. And it's like, oh my god, dude. Oh my god. I'll mention this again, and then I'll leave it at this. Justice League, the animated series, I think it came out in 2003, if I remember correctly, and Unlimited came out in 2005, I think. That series had the Black Green Lantern, John Stewart. Now, here's the deal. They thought it would be a good idea to put John Stewart in for diverse reasons. But you know one thing that they didn't do? They didn't virtue signal. They didn't parade around and go like, look at us, and we're doing this to be on the right side of history. They're like, maybe it would be a good idea. And they also wrote him well, to the point where there's plenty of people, including myself, that like Jon Stewart more than Hal Jordan. Because, especially in the series, they used Wally West instead of Barry Allen. Wally West was essentially Hal Jordan. They're both goofy dickheads. They're just silly. And you see it when Hal Jordan and Barry Allen or Wally West or any of them, when they're all together, any of them, doesn't matter which Flash it is, they have very similar points of view or very similar like comedic timing, and they're very basic. And so it was good to have somebody totally different. And like Wally West and Jon Stewart played off each other so well. So well. And so those are examples when that shit wins, man. When even if you do want to do something for diverse reasons, write a good fucking character. Don't virtue signal and be like, look at me, I'm doing this for you. You know, just do it. If it's a good character, people will accept it. They will. Sci-fi, man. Sci-fi fans are a bunch of neckbeard, nerdy fucks. Sci-fi is filled with strong women. They'll accept it. God damn, like, even if they're kind of ugly, man. Like, dude, Katie Sackhoff is not the hottest woman ever. She was in the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, and she played Starbuck. She is not the hottest woman. There was infinitely more attractive women in that series. People love Starbuck. They loved her. So, I'm just saying, man, a lot of things could have been avoided. But I think the biggest thing, though, what I should probably kind of step back, and I said that was going to be the last point, but I think the bigger point is to actually treat your employees well. Because I think they would have avoided most of this stuff, because even with the plot that's leaked, if it's true, at least they would have had all of that money from people that would have bought the game. Because there's tons of people, if this is true, the plot leak, if it's true, they ain't buying this shit. I mean, I wasn't going to buy it. Like, I would have thought about it, maybe buying it on sale at some point. I'm probably not going to buy it. If the plot that leaked is true, I ain't buying that shit.